always knew this was going to be a close race, and it is close. It's still too early to know exactly how we're going to get the path to victory, but we're still confident that Hillary Clinton will be elected tonight.
I've got a lot more ramifications. Oh, wow. For the Trump presidency. Brace for impact. New York Times now saying the chance of a Trump presidency is 92%. Brace for impact. Okay.
Was going to win an electoral landslide. Not only is that not happening, it is entirely possible that Donald Trump is truly redrawing the map the way that he said he was going to.
Huffington Post, what happened to your fucking 98.4%? What happened to your, they said there was a 98.4%. And I keep picking on them.
Well, that
they
leaves
were not
almost
alone.
2% chance.
They were not alone. All the fucking idiots in Washington and New York. Oh, you guys are worried about nothing. You're worried about nothing.
You deal in probabilities, so what are the odds you're putting on the race right now?
So right now we have Hillary's about a 75 or an 80% favorite. We have different versions of the forecast you can look at. So
the system is corrupt and it's rigged and it's broken, and we're going to change it.
Now, this will be True Rebel headquarters as Trump and his cronies begin their march against our freedoms.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
Everybody should head home. We should get some sleep. And I want every person across the country who supported Hillary to know that your voices and your enthusiasm means so much to her and to Tim and to all of us.
But for people who don't have a relationship with God, that is your relationship, or anybody else's relationship, what do they do?
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country. It's real.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. Donald Trump is going to be our president.
Wolf, the scene here is so different than it was a few hours ago when people were happy and relaxed. I have been looking around the room at people who are stone-faced. Some of them have been crying. The scene here is so different than it was a few hours ago when people were happy and relaxed. There are people who are just in shock, and they are just stunned at the idea that they were completely sure they were coming to this event to celebrate Hillary Clinton becoming the first female president, and now they are confronting the reality that they could be walking out of here perhaps expecting that Donald Trump is going to become president.
People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare.
It's an amazing story right now. Whatever happens, it is, Dana, a truly amazing story.
One of the other things that's interesting is there are obviously millions of Americans who voted for Barack Obama in 2012 and voted for Donald Trump today, which is a fascinating thing given that Donald Trump is running as the anti-Obama in almost every possible way.
I have no respect for women who voted for Trump, okay?
Yeah, me too.
I think so poorly of them, and the reason why is because, look, I don't think that you're a single issue voter. I just think you're dumb, okay? I think you're fucking dumb.
This is, you know, she won every debate by all standards.
Everything.
Every debate.
Everything.
Every debate. She had the best ad campaign, the best ground game. This is a shot against meritocracy, I think, because she merited everything. And the normal way you standardize these things, she did what she's supposed to do to win. And Trump came in around the corner. Well, we're going to study this for a while, I think.
Well, wow. Try the Civil War. There'd be a Ken Burns film on this.
First of all, I don't think we should overlook the human element here either. If Hillary Clinton does win this, I mean, this is potentially, it's a devastating.
So if Donald Trump is democratically elected and your son is serving as a Marine, you wouldn't trust his life under that commander-in-chief? And Kane said, I wouldn't. That's a pretty extraordinary thing to say. if you have a son in the Marine Corps and that you don't trust the Commander-in-Chief. The people in the military defend the Constitution.
Well, America is crying tonight. I'm not sure how much of America, but a very, very significant portion, and I mean literally crying.
Caught off guard that I wasn't in touch with the country I live in, and that maybe I am in a bubble when critics come out on social media and say, you don't know what the world's about. Sadly, now I woke up and I thought maybe I don't.
The question is Obamacare, the Supreme Court.
Listen, I think this is a very consequential event.
What we've noticed is there are a few more people streaming in. They've put on the music that we've come to expect from the campaign, what we've heard on the campaign trail for months. A little bit more upbeat atmosphere, but but the looks on people's faces still very glum. We've seen a number of people in tears.
The woman who President Obama called the most qualified person ever to run for the White House couldn't break through. The question remains, who can?
Feels like the end of the world.
Get your abortions now, because we're going to be fucked, and we're going to have to live with it.
This is the first time throughout this entire race where I'm officially shitting my pants.
This is a different Earth today than it was 24 hours ago. It's a different place. Cause it just is different.
If Trump wins, how about bursting into tears and screaming fuck for the next 45 minutes?
Because I'm on this network and people know my attitudes about things. They come up to me and they're scared, depressed, despair, desperate even, almost clinging to me.
It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes.
It feels like we're trying to avoid the apocalypse and half of the country is voting for the asteroid.
Is there a doomsday plan for a time like this? Am I right to ask about a doomsday plan? Do you see this as a doomsday scenario?
Is that not since George W. Bush has there been a White House, a Senate, and a House of Representatives all from the same party? And then the FBI has stuck its nasty little nose in the middle of this. Plus the Supreme Court, who knows where that's going to...
You know what we do? We go play hardball politics. We're gonna go after them in every conceivable way. And so they think I'm the enemy. Yeah, goddamn right I'm your enemy.
You know, she was Hillary Clinton, the most qualified candidate, the best suited for the job, the best temperament. Now we're hearing not a good candidate.
Well, let's just cut to the chase. Assuming, and that's what we're talking about, that he does win. People I'm speaking to think it's absolutely catastrophic. That it's catastrophic for the United States, that it's catastrophic for our position in the world. It emboldens our enemies and adversaries. It makes our allies terrified that we're not going to be their allies anymore. Most people think that this type of scenario happens. That if you imagine the United States as a nuclear warship, we stop. We become totally focused on our own domestic politics, that he's going to provoke a constitutional crisis, he's going to get into a fight with the Supreme Court, there'll be attempts to impeach him, and that for 6 months to a year or longer, we will be navel-gazing, we will not be leading the world, and other powers, Russia, China, adjust around us.
He has called our generals stupid. He has advocated.
Let me tell you, tonight the general is reading the Constitution.
I'm sorry, say it again?
General, I've been talking to generals for a long time. They've been reading the Constitution to see what they are obligated to do. If they are really ordered to round up and deport millions of Americans and put them on buses or trains, do they have to do that? The president is the commander-in-chief. That's the stage what we're talking about. It's, do they have to follow what they would believe would be an immoral and illegal order?
But for me, when you scare children by saying you're not going to let them stay in the country, you're going to separate them out, children don't know what you're talking about. They hear these things and it's crazy. And this is a bigger picture. This is bigger than him. This ripples out in so many different, affects gay folks, gay marriage, transgender people. This has huge effects. Whether we are a nation who believes in people's rights as they are constitutionally guaranteed, whether we're a nation that believes in the rights as God has guaranteed, whatever you believe, no child should be afraid that their parents are going to be taken away because they're Muslim or because they're Mexican or because they're black.
Everybody is crying and so upset, and it is the end of their world.
You're thinking, where can I squeeze some more Democratic votes to make that up? My answer is, I don't know.
I don't see it.
Anderson, it's really a remarkable development, a historic development, what's unfolding right now. It's not over yet. We're watching every state, every electoral vote.
Without a doubt, probably one of the most momentous nights in American political history, certainly modern American political history.
It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things. This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. I mean, we've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income, we've talked about class, we've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president, in part.
How did this happen? Experienced politician versus racist fake gynecologist.
Elite that travels the world and has money. If those people feel like, you know what, this is not my America anymore, that is too part of the grieving process as you described it. And the question is, are they able to come home?
Is there going to be an element of retribution for those who weren't with him along the way, or for changing libel laws or whatever it was, for the crooked media, stuff like that?
How do you govern when your whole campaign was built on the hatred of somebody else?
From slavery to, Nazism, we have faced challenges before to who we are as a people.
A woman ran for president.
Right.
Probably the
She
most...
won't be the last.
Well, she won't be the last, that's for sure. But probably the most qualified, by traditional metrics, person to run in generations. And she was beaten by someone who, at least from traditional metrics, is the least qualified person. And I wonder, and I don't have a view, but I think it's at least worth talking about. You are taught when you are a young woman, when you're a young person of color, when you're any kind of outsider, LGBT, that what you're supposed to do is be the best. Is to stack up all the credentials, go to the best schools, do all these great things so you can separate, so you can prove that you're worthy of these opportunities. And now you have an example of someone who did that to the nth degree and was just devastated.
Yeah, but you can make it.
That's not true. That's not true. No one told her to go set up a private server. No one told her to delete 33,000 emails. No one told her that you have to break the law in order to run for president of the United States. Nobody said that. No one said you have to go and become the Secretary of State and then cash in and make hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign countries who degrade women, who degrade blacks, who degrade homosexuals, and you keep that money and use that money to pay for your daughter's wedding. No one said you had to do any of those things to become the president.
They're all bad news. Let's start with Kentucky because we don't care. 73-25 Trump.
Okay, have Kentucky. Who cares?